Disaster management. Disaster management. An earthquake of magnitude 2.6 struck Delhi on Saturday the 10th of November 2023. The earthquake occurred at 3:36 p.m. Its epicenter was 10 kilometers below the surface of the Earth in North District, said the National Center for Seismology. Just days before, tremors were felt in Delhi, the national capital region and several parts of North India after an earthquake of 5.6 magnitude struck West Nepal. Disaster management. Efforts to mitigate natural disasters at national and global levels. International Strategy for Disaster Reduction, Concept of Disaster Management, National Disaster Management Framework and Financial Arrangements. The National Disaster Management Plan (NDMP) provides a framework and direction to the government agencies for all phases of disaster management cycle. The NDMP is a dynamic document in the sense that it will be periodically improved, keeping up with the global best practices and knowledge base in disaster management. It is in accordance with the provisions of the Disaster Management Act 2005. Relevant agencies be either central or state will carry out disaster management activities in different phases in the disaster-affected areas depending on the type and scale of disaster. Disaster Management (DM) Act, 2005. A continuous and integrated process of planning, organizing, coordinating and implementing measures which are necessary or expedient for the following: prevention of danger or threat of any disaster, mitigation or reduction of risk of any disaster or its severity or consequences, capacity building, preparedness to deal with any disaster, prompt response to any threatening disaster situation or disaster, assessing the severity or magnitude of effects of any disaster, evacuation, rescue and relief, and rehabilitation and reconstruction. Levels of disasters. The disaster management and its planning at various tiers must take into account the vulnerability of disaster-affected area, and the capacity of the authorities to deal with the situation. Level L1, the level of disaster that can be managed within the capabilities and resources at the district level. However, the state authorities will remain in readiness to provide assistance if needed. Levels of disasters. Level L2, this signifies the disaster situations that require assistance and active mobilization of resources at the state level and deployment of state-level agencies for disaster management. The central agencies must remain vigilant for immediate deployment if required by the state. Level L3, this corresponds to a nearly catastrophic situation or a very large-scale disaster that overwhelms the state and district authorities. Efforts to mitigate natural disasters at national and global level. National levels. India has been traditionally vulnerable to natural disasters on account of its unique geoclimatic conditions. Floods, droughts, cyclones, earthquakes and landslides have been a recurrent phenomena. About 60% of the landmass is prone to earthquakes of various intensities, over 40 million hectares is prone to floods, about 8% of the total area is prone to cyclones and 68% of the area is susceptible to drought. In the decade from 1990 to 2000, an average of about 4,344 people lost their lives and about 30 million people were affected by disasters every year. At the national level, the Ministry of Home Affairs is the nodal ministry for all matters concerning disaster management. The Central Relief Commissioner, CRC, in the Ministry of Home Affairs is the nodal officer to coordinate relief operations for natural disasters. The CRC receives information relating to forecasting/warning of a natural calamity from India Meteorological Department (IMD), or from Central Water Commission of Ministry of Water Resources on a continuing basis. Ministries or departments or organizations concerned with the primary and secondary functions relating to the management of disasters include India Meteorological Department, Central Water Commission, Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Rural Development, Ministry of Urban Development, Department of Communications, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Water Resources, Department of Agriculture and Cooperation. Ministry of Power, Department of Civil Supplies, Ministry of Railways, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Department of Surface Transport, Ministry of Social Justice, Department of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Environment and Forest, and Climate Change. Each ministry or department or organization nominate their nodal officer to the Crisis Management Group chaired by Central Relief Commissioner. The nodal officer is responsible for preparing sectoral action plan or emergency support function plan for managing disasters.
National Crisis Management Committee, NCMC. The NCMC gives direction to the Crisis Management Group as deemed necessary. The Secretary, Ministry of Home Affairs is responsible for ensuring that all developments are brought to the notice of the NCMC promptly. The NCMC can give directions to any ministry or department or organization for specific action needed for meeting the crisis situation. Crisis Management Group. The Central Relief Commissioner in the Ministry of Home Affairs is the chairman of the CMG, consisting of senior officers called nodal officers from various concerned ministries.
The CMG, in the event of a natural disaster, meets frequently to review the relief operations and extend all possible assistance required by the affected states to overcome the situation effectively. The resident commissioner of the affected state is also associated with such meetings. Control Room, Emergency Operation Room. An Emergency Operations Center, Control Room exists in the nodal Ministry of Home Affairs, which functions round the clock, to assist the Central Relief Commissioner in the discharge of his duties. The activities of the control room include collection and transmission of information concerning natural calamity and relief, keeping close contact with governments of the affected states, interaction with other central ministries or departments or organizations in connection with relief, maintaining records containing all relevant information relating to action points and contact points in central ministries etc., keeping up-to-date details of all concerned officers at the central and state levels. Save Our Earth. SRM College of Agricultural Sciences.